Hello there, all you kind and magnificent YouTubers. YouTubers, that sounds pretty hokey. I guess if you're using a YouTube, you could be a YouTuber. But I kind of wish I hadn't said that now. I had something much cooler in mind, but then, whoop, it flew away like a bird. But yeah, I've been trying for over 2 hours to do my audiobook and just failing miserably. And I kind of understand that it's not my thing. That, it's like ice skating uphill for me. Because I cannot help but rearrange the words, but I still want to do it. And I'm gonna finish the one book at least. And I will eventually do my own book, which hopefully I won't screw up my own words. Because they're my words, I won't have to rearrange them into ways that I like. That seems to be my main problem. But yeah, check out the picture I had. Now, if I had any ambition, I did have to use the editor program in video to edit out my last name. Because like I said, I don't really give a fuck, but other people do. So I can't be putting my last name out there. But I should use YouTube editor program or Creator Studio or whatever the hell it is to just, instead of taking pictures of pictures, to just put the pictures digitally right on the sections of the book that I want to read. But check this out. Yeah, you don't want that coming at you. That was the part that I was trying to read. And I'm like, I don't want to read that part unless I can do it justice. And I was trying another part, and I'm like, well, forget that part. That's a longer and harder part. I will try the shorter part. And I couldn't do the shorter part. And I tried, I don't know how much I can feel it in my throat after I'm like talking for hours. And, reading aloud for hours. And I start to feel it in there. So you get the joy of listening to my hoarseness. But anyways, the last video that I made is about my status as a sweet little virgin, so innocent and clean of mind and whatnot, and so unwise as to the ways of this evil, evil world. I should not even be allowed to go outside my door, the same way that Little Red Riding Hood should not have been allowed to go to Granny's house with that basket of goodies. But cannot be avoided. It reached a low around here of about, I think 2 degrees. So I've mostly been holed up in my room with my 2 heaters because it was too cold. And then last night, I was watching a football game and my brother called, and priorities being priorities, I was all snug under a blanket. And, tented over me in a chair since I don't like nothing touching me. It was just like I made a tent over it over top of a recliner. And I dumbly left the phone across the room, so I had to get up and get the phone and everything. And I'm like, well, I'll pause the football game and, talk to my brother. And, of course, I come in here and I'm looking at totally unrelated things on the computer and get spoiled on the football game, which only had like about 9 minutes left and I guess had some kind of epic finish to it or something. So I'm like, you cannot look at the computer if you don't want spoilers on a damn game. You just can't even if you're not even looking at anything related to the particular sport, because they want to tell you like the breaking news, and I'm not spoiling anybody on it. But anyways, that's what happened last night. But I don't know, like the last video I made, I didn't think it was very good. I stammered a lot and was I was honest as always, but not particularly coherent. Part of the honesty that I have to do is like I fell again, and then I fell twice this week actually. So that that kind of hurts me. So I don't think I did any twisting or, you know, ligament damage or anything like that. But I've been mixing the gabapentin with the Valium. Like I did at least 2 times since the last time I talked to you. And I don't know about what that would do to anybody else, but that fucks me up, you know. And then like I wake up in the morning and I'm like totally incoherent. I have to be real careful walking in. And you know, it's like 3:50 in the afternoon here in the heartland, so I'm fully awake and frustrated after trying for hours to do something useful and make a video book of a book that is not readily available. I don't know if it's still in print or not, but I know it's not readily available on YouTube for free. And I know my book isn't readily available, and I'm basically just practicing trying to figure this shit out so that I can publish, you know, self-publish my own book, which I know is not readily available. The first part of it is like under Pork Frog, or One Pork Frog 1. And it's my ugly face reading it, and I don't really do that good a job of reading it, but I mean, I read for like an hour straight. And yeah, I realized that, you know, no one wants to look at somebody's face when they're reading because it's just irritating, you know. So I was like, oh, that was a dumb idea. I thought it might be cool if people saw my facial expressions changing and stuff like that, you know, when I did it. But then when I did it, I was like, it's not really cool at all. It's like, it's just annoying. You know, I don't even think it would matter if I was handsome or whatever. It would still be annoying because when you read a book, you want to visualize what's going on in the story and stuff. You don't want to look at some guy reading it. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you're watching an actor holding a script, you know, doing his part in a movie. It doesn't work. I found that out the hard way because I spent like a long time making that video on One Pork Frog 1. And yeah, it did not work. So anyways, I'm going to keep trying, and I don't know how long this is going to take. It shouldn't take this long, but after you sit there and you do like 10 takes and you fuck them all up, and then you go to another chapter and you do 10 more takes and fuck them all up, and then you're like distracted by small things like Stampy upstairs and water running and garbage trucks outside, and you get distracted. And it's easy to get distracted when you're familiar with the material anyway because you've read it a billion times. But I'm assuming that none of this is very interesting to anybody, so I'm just going to stop talking about it. I did hear something interesting. I don't know if I can share it or not, but it is yeah. Oh, oof. It's so hard for me. Like, everything to me is just a story, you know, because I don't really have that shame thing. So it's all just a story to me. It's not like, you know, if somebody said something about the bad stuff that I did, I'd be like, yeah, I did that. Like I was a mean kid, and like when we got I got a foster brother at a certain age. I like initiated him by like kicking his ass like every chance I got. Is beating the shit out of him because I was not, you know, I was like, it wasn't that I was a bully. I didn't. He was an intruder into my house. I mean, the funny part is like, I wanted him to come over there all the time and visit. But once he was like, what, I gotta live with this guy all the time now? I felt that he needed his ass kicked a lot. So I did that a lot. And anyways, the thing that I'm referring to is, I will keep it vague, but I talked to somebody and they told me about a relation of mine. You know, I already have a leg breaker for a bookie in the family. He's dead. I have a serial killer in the family. He's dead. I can't tell you what this other guy did, but that was a capital crime because of his family's still alive, but he's dead. And then this other guy is still alive, But oh shit, I can't help myself. I have to tell you. Yeah, I kind of suspected this, you know, and I kind of like I've heard about it like vaguely, but it got spelled out to me that one of my other relations just was a straight up pimp. He just ran women, and yeah, it's just too good of a story. But anyways, I can't. Fuck, it's so frustrating not being able to tell these cool stories. But anyways, this pimp borrowed a nightstick off of somebody that I know, and then um, gave it back to him like 2 years later, and had all kind of nicks and dents and shit in it, you know. And he was like, "Why is it all?" He never expected to see it again, but he was like, "Why is this all like dented and chipped up and just messed up looking and everything?" And he's like, "You don't need to know about that." And then you know he talked to somebody else about it because he was actually young at the time. I mean, this is a person that was taught how to fire a gun in single digits. I'm not talking about like a BB gun. I'm talking about like a real gun, like 38s, 357s, and shit like that. So, anyways, he t- he's like a kid, so he doesn't understand that a pimp's job is an enforcer. It's not to slap around the women so much as like to protect his investment. He slaps around the women too, but it's also to protect his investment. So he would hang around, and if he heard anything he didn't like coming from inside the room, or you know, I don't know what system they used back then, but basically he would come in there with that nightstick and beat the shit out of the John with it. So I was like, yeah, that nightstick. Once he gave it back to you, that probably had like I don't know how many people's blood on it at one time or another. He goes, he's like, you bet. So yeah, there's so much more like that that I could talk about. But yeah, when I made the virginity video, I didn't I talk about like I don't know what day I made that because I had to process it because I had to censor out my last name because I threw my last name in there because I'm German and then I said my last name and I was like, yeah, I guess that sounds German, you know, and I just realized, well, you already know my first name's Steve. If you know my last name, I mean, I don't know how much about this so-called dark web thing, you know, if it involves spiders or what, or, you know, how much can be found out about me anyway. Me personally, I don't really care, but, you know, there's other people attached to you in this world that complicate matters. But anyways, that video was pretty old before I posted it because it took like 2 days for me to, it seemed like 2 years, actual 2 solid days for a video editor to process that because of the size of the file. And so I didn't tell you about the fact that I had to go to my psych appointment and see my psychiatrist type guy who's actually a psychiatric nurse on a walker in snow. You know, I'm in northern Ohio. This is before this major snowstorm hit and all this bad shit came, but it was snowing when I was out there and there was snow out there. So my brilliant primary caregiver, Dr. Wacky Pants, you know, when I told him like I should probably have a scooter or something because I still got to get around, and you know, I'm falling in the house on carpet. I'm falling in the house like with no slips type socks on. And so I'm definitely going to be falling in snow and ice and stuff like that. And he's like, well, just use a walker. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, you know, to myself, you know, because I don't argue with idiots. It's like the walker is just going to be a weapon. If I'm walking and I'm slip and fall with a walker, I'm just going to fall forward and bash my face into the bar on the walker and break my freaking nose. So luckily nothing like that happened, but my appointment with the psych guy went real well. I asked him point blank, like if medical marijuana is covered by any insurance at all, and he said no. He said there's no insurance, no matter how good it is, that covers that. It's all out of pocket. And I'm like, damn. You know, I was like, And I said, that doesn't make any sense. He goes, I know it doesn't make any sense. He says, here's the sense it makes. They want all the tax money from it. He says the legalization was not so much out of pity for people that have like chronic pain conditions like mine. He said it was about they realized they could get gigantic tax revenue off of that money from people like me who actually need help if I was willing to fork down however much I'd have to pay. The cheapest place in my area was $289 to get in the door. It's $289 just to get in the door. Now, whether that included my first buy of marijuana or not, I don't know. But that was the price that I saw. Anyways, I asked him that definitively. I also asked him if I was rushing too much as far as like taking too little benzos, because he was like, well, I want you on 3 a day. He wants me to take 3 10-milligram pills a day, which I'm still not doing because this is the result of following doctor's orders. I just listen to my body, and it's like, no, I ain't doing that. So, but anyways, he wrote me the script, and then I realized, I added it all up with the benzodiazepine benzos that I have available. I'm still frustrated from reading the book. The street value of them is, I definitely shouldn't say my last name now. The street value of them is between $3,000 and $3,500 in this area. But, I can't sell them because I am not a scumbag. I would gladly sell any excess medical marijuana that I had, because that doesn't get you physically dependent. But I won't sell a benzodiazepine. I just won't do it. But it's like, you know how much money that is to someone like me? And I have outlets and channels where I'd have to do no work to get that money. And I can't do it just because it's morally wrong to me. And you got these doctors like giving it to people and putting them in situations like I'm in now, where they're like, they don't tell you that you're not supposed to take it every day. I mean, I was prescribed it as a once a day sleep aid. Now, granted, I asked my doctor a few times to do that, but I didn't know, that was before I had seen any YouTube videos, or I didn't know about it. I just knew that I was having a lot of anxiety, which was probably actually exacerbated by my taking of Xanax, because it turns what they call paradoxical upon you, and the actual symptoms that you're treating with it become worse by taking it. You can actually make your anxiety worse by taking these benzos over an extended period of time, which, yeah, I found that out to be true. And anyways, so I got like these ridiculous, oh my God, like around here, a 5-milligram pill of Valium goes for $3. So let's see, let's do some math here if I can manage it. So what's 120? Okay, that's 300. I got 325. Okay, 10-milligram pills. So whatever 6 times that number I just quoted is. Anyways, I wrote it out on a piece of paper and I figured it out. And then I got like 90 to 100 Xanax that I just don't want. That's just in the house here. So, yeah. I mean, definitely my last name needed striked out from that last video. I also struck out a boring part where I was talking about Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth, and about how the only thing that you have is your life story, and this writer maliciously ruined Ty Cobb's reputation and made everybody think he was a bastard when he wasn't really a bastard, and the only thing and a racist. And the only thing he ever said about black people was positive, and he said that they should be allowed to play baseball, and they should be held to the standards of any other man. So, and this is like in the 50s or 60s when they asked him this, this was like a while ago. This wasn't like when this is just something that accepted as a common sense. There's a lot of people that, this is probably in the Governor Wallace days, if you know anything about history, that he was saying this. So anyways, that was just interesting to me, but I had to cut that out because that video was already so long and it was already full of so much of me stammering and being emotional and all that shit. I had to cut all that out. But anyways, about these ridiculous amounts of benzos I have now. And I was just happy to get 10 and 15 5 milligram pills of Valium at a time. When I first had my evil withdrawal, when it was at its worst, I was able to call someone and get I think just 10 5 milligram pills of Valium to ease the suffering. And I felt better. I just felt better. I was like, wow, okay. But then because I'm getting it illegally, it was just hard to get. And, you got to have reliable sources and all that stuff. And, I got burnt too, where I got burnt for $60 and I bought a bus bar and I thought it was gonna be what the hell did I think? I thought it was either gonna be Xanax or Valium. I forget which, but yeah, I got burnt, as they say on the street. And bus bar they just call them bus bar around here. Completely useless as far as I'm concerned. They were completely useless. They did nothing for me. And so anyways, I'm still taking less Valium than I'm being directed to. I took 20 milligrams yesterday, and I took 10 milligrams so far today, and it's already 4 o'clock. So, I'll probably be taking 20 milligrams or 10 milligrams a day. And whether that's bad for me or not, I don't know. But anyways, the story that I interrupted with the thoughts of all these benzodiazepines dancing about my head and all the money that I could make off of them if I was an evil fuck was when I went to see the psychiatrist and asked him those questions. And I asked him about whether I was pushing it too hard. And he told me, 3 times a day. And then he wrote me this huge script for, what's 3 times 90? 270 pills? Yeah. My math is horrible. But anyways, it was a bottle of 90 pills with 2 refills. So, yeah, you do the math. So anyways, I get out there and it's not that cold outside. And it's kind of fun being outside when you've been trapped indoors like I have for so long. So I go out there with my walker. And I can't find a place to sit down out there that's not wet because it's not cold out. It's 30, somewhere between 31 and 34 degrees. So it's half snow, it's half rain, But I'm dressed for it and everything. And I was like, well, it's a little colder out here than I thought, but I'm okay. But I couldn't find any dry place to sit because there's no benches by there in front of the where I was getting picked up by the cripple bus, SARTA. And so I found one little dry patch, but my ass was a lot bigger than that dry patch. And I had these shiny black insulated pants on. So my ass got all wet. And then when the bus came, it was like a tiny micro bus. It only could seat 3 passengers in it, and they would be shoulder to shoulder in it. So it still had the little box in there where you put your money and stuff, and it was a startup cripple bus, but it was just so tiny. It didn't have any lift or anything like that for the walker. And she's like, "Do you think you can get in?" Because she looked pretty strong, but she didn't look very big. But I weigh 185 pounds, and most women, that's a lot to deal with, 185 pounds. So I was like, yeah, I can handle it. So I throw the walker in the van first, and I got snow all over my shoes, and like a dumbass, instead of looking for handholds like, and they had those inside the van. I just grabbed the door handle on the van and then take a step in, and I'm so anxious to get in the van. I slip and fall. I banged my leg and actually cut my leg and bruised it on the inside. And I fell, but my ass hit on that seat, you know. And she's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I meant to do that. I lied." I'm like, "No, I did not mean to do that." You know, it's like my leg was hurting like a bitch, but I didn't say nothing about it. I was like, "Yeah, I meant to do that. That was like a controlled fall." And I said, "I do that all the time. It freaks people out, you know." But I was actually aiming. I'm in the seat. And it was like I was aiming my ass toward the seat. It's like, no, I'm pretty tall. I just happened to hit the seat. But yeah, that was a pretty bad fall. And I got like a yellow brown bruise above my ankle, and like a little cut from where I hit the I don't know, whatever the edge of the van would be, whatever you want to call that. But that was my dumb fault, because I was in a hurry to get in the van. I wanted to go home so bad. I had got to my appointment like 45 minutes early, and I just wanted to go home so bad. I thought it would be easy, and I was like, no, you're wearing shoes that have snow all over the bottom of them, and you're not walking. And so the answer is walkers and snows don't mix, no matter what any doctor tells you. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't much snow out there, so there was actually a lot of salt thrown down where I had to walk, but I took like, I had to walk through a little bit of snow, and it got on my shoes, and I ended up falling. So anyways, so this lady's driving, and the whole time, like, it's not one of them cars where the seatbelt yells at you like you're not buckled in. So I'm just sitting in the back, and she doesn't even tell me to buckle in, and I'm like, cool, because I don't like to be buckled in. And but I had to buckle myself in because my ass was wet with shiny pants on a vinyl seat, and I couldn't, you know, I can't feel things right, except for the fact that I was sliding off. I was about to slide off onto the floor like the whole trip, and she's like, we got to get on the freeway and pick up this other dude. We got on the freeway, and her GPS is like 7 miles until a ramp exit, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm gonna be in this van for a while. So I'm just holding on to this handhold the whole time, just struggling to keep from sliding onto the floor with my wet ass and my shiny pants into my pool of water that I left on the floor from the snow that was in my shoes. And it was really irritating. And I finally like buckled myself in, but the buckle wasn't one of them anaconda squeeze you type seatbelts, so it didn't even help much to keep me from sliding on the floor. I still had to fight, or I would have still like slid through onto the floor. So anyways, I'm like, well, I'm a guitar player, and I was like, let me ask you an odd question. And she's like, okay. And I said, what do you know about like hardening your nails? Because I noticed your nails and I noticed like they look well cared for and stuff. And she had like bright, ugly, yellowish nails, but they looked like talons, man. They looked hard and stuff like that. And like as I've explained in other videos, I learned to play guitar on a nylon string, but now I went to a metal string, and it eats up my fingernails on my picking hand. And you know, and that's just how I learned all wrong on the guitar, because I didn't have any teachers or anything like that. So I sat there and talked to this lady about nail care the whole time while I'm trying to keep from sliding onto the floor into a puddle of water. And she was more than happy. She's like, honey, I used to do nails for a living. I can tell you all about that. And I told her about the stuff I was doing. And she was like, oh, you were doing everything wrong. You got to put alcohol on there. You got to put alcohol in there and get that oil and natural oil and residue before you start messing with it. And I talked to her about gel and fluorescent lamps. And she was like, I was like, do you think they'd charge me half price if I went to one of those Korean nail salons and told them I only wanted them to do the one hand? And she goes, I don't know, baby. They might charge you by the finger. So yeah, I told her, like, I bet you never had no guy in your van talking to you about nail care like this before, have you? And she was like, nope. And so yeah, that was like my one time outdoors in this winter wasteland we got going on now. Now it's like really bad. We had I don't know, between 14 and 20 inches of snow drop. I can't shovel. I just put my shovel in the hallway. My last shovel just got stolen, either by the hood people or the crackheads. I wouldn't have left it out there with the meth heads for sure. So it was either the hood people or the crackheads that stole it. But my last snow shovel got stolen. I'm like, that thing was a piece of shit anyway. But this is a good shovel, but I just put it in the hallway in case anybody in the building that was healthy enough to do it had any ambition to do any shoveling, but I don't think it's been used so far. And, I don't know. I shoveled up to last year. I used to like hold on to the railing with one hand and push with the shovel with the other. So I used to do the shoveling around here. Even though there were healthier people living in the building, they're just lazy sons of bitches. And, I don't know if I didn't make that joke to the wheelchair guy, but I was like, man, I was thinking to myself, like, I might have said that as a joke to somebody else. I said, somebody needs to do some damn shoveling out there. I don't know who, but I'm getting tired of it, man. I don't care if it's the guy in the wheelchair, man. We can put like a snow plow on the front of his wheelchair, and he can plow it out of the way. Like the snow plows that you see going down the street and stuff. But anyways, yeah, I'm just talking on here because I can't do my audiobook, and I'm just it just agitates me that I can't read what's on the page. Maybe my enunciation is not that bad as what it sounds like in my head. Sometimes when I go back, I was like, I'll finish a part and I'll just go ahead and like, I think I pronounced that word bad, and I'd go back and listen to it, and I'm like, well, people can tell what it is, So I think like my whole internal clock and the way I hear myself speak, I think it's all messed up somehow. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of interesting finding out that to go along with serial killers, leg breakers, straight up murderers, and other people that I have actual pimps in the family too. So, yeah. So yeah, the last name definitely does not need to be on my videos. I don't know enough about the internet if, people could find out any of this crap or not. But I'm pretty sure this guy is still alive that I'm talking about. And the guy usually that I talk to, he tells me a lot of the same stories. But I was like, man, you never told me about that before. I don't remember that one. And I remembered, though, that it's so frustrating not being able to tell these stories. It's so frustrating. You have no idea. Such good stories, but you just can't go spouting out everybody's business on Front Street. But yeah, I will say this much: this individual showed up with his bottom bitch at Christmas one time when I was a kid, and that was a mighty uncomfortable Christmas, let me tell you, because I think my dad and mom were well aware of what was going on there. I remember her saying, "Yeah, I made it to church this morning. It didn't matter how drunk I was. I made sure I got my ass in that pew." Uh, my mom was like a fundamentalist Christian and stuff. And my dad, I don't know what my dad was just, he didn't talk a lot about what he believed, but he never went to church. But I think he was an atheist. I don't really know because, I wasn't close to my dad. My dad didn't talk too much about, he either talked about things that were way too serious, like watching people's intestines fall out, or nothing, just like nonsense. Or sometimes like he would sit up and talk to me about his life as a kid and working as a sharecropper and how he had to work when he was young. And he never told me why he got so good with a knife. That other people told me that it's because his murderous brothers were always beating him up, and then he got really good with a knife, like shit, maybe at the age of 9. I don't know. He's got that story where a dog had tried to kill him, and he cut the dog when he was 10 years old. That story with the baseball glove that I told before. So, once he got good and quick with a knife and very, very willing to use it, then his older brother stopped beating the shit out of him because they were afraid of him. Pretty much everybody in the family was afraid of him because they knew that he did not fight. It wasn't going to be a fist fight. He was capable of fist fighting. I've seen him punch before. He could punch. I've seen him huge feats of strength, even into his 50s, which were ridiculous, But if a fight to him wasn't a fight, it was like, I'm going to kill you or you're going to kill me. That was how he was. But anyways, I heard all these interesting stories from a relation on Sunday, none of which I can unfortunately share, which really is just frustrating and not meant to tease anybody that's interested in like true crime type shit. But good Lord. But yeah, I remember hearing about that stuff, and my dad had no, you learn how to be a parent from your parent, and his dad was like, my grandfather, who I never met, was like straight up pure evil. So, my dad rarely talked about him, but that's who he learned to be a parent by. So he didn't think nothing about, the way I put it, like, I don't know where I might have wrote this somewhere or something like that, but like most kids hear about the three little pigs and the big bad wolf. Well, I'm going to use a word now. This is just a quote, but I heard about the three niggers and the knife. Okay, it's just a quote. It's not me saying it. It's somebody else saying it. But my dad was approached and about to be robbed by three dudes, and he cut two of them, and the third one ran and didn't get cut, and one ran in the other direction, and I guess he wanted to kill somebody or something, but he said he cut the guy across the stomach, and he's like, it was amazing how fast he could run while he was holding his stomach, because he was holding the wound on his stomach and running, and I was hearing about this shit when I was like, good Lord, I don't know how old, 9, 10, 11, 12, and he used to sit there and sharpen his knife, man, all the time sharpening that fucking knife. That knife was like a part of him. And then when he died, people were divvying up his possessions, and they asked me if I want that knife, and I'm like, no, I don't want that knife. I was like, I don't want nothing that belonged to him, especially that knife, because I know that knife's killed people. That's a murder weapon. I don't want nothing to do with that. That's got some bad juju on it. But yeah, because of the way he was raised, he had no idea of like proper behavior, if it wasn't for my mom, I don't know. My mom was like, she was a loving person, and she like counterbalanced it, but it was a weird situation because she was like coddled us too much. So like to make up for him being like how he was, and it was like it made all of us kind of all the kids kind of like very different, and like it was weird. It was just weird. It's like it was a combination of being terrified, occasionally smacked around, and then coddled, because she was like really super nice, and I knew she liked me a lot. I knew she really I felt like I was like a favorite kid or something like that. And yeah, I'm just talking to be talking. I'm just frustrated. I can't do much else. It's like 1,000,000,000 degrees out below zero outside. Not really. It's probably about 10 degrees outside right now. And it's impassable. There's like 20 inches of snow out there that's nobody shoveled. So even if I wanted to go outside, I couldn't. These medic those slippers that they give you in the hospital, especially the old people that have the tread on them and stuff, I'm falling in those, so I bought like some kind of pair of slippers to that are made for like the shower or something like that. I figured those out, and I looked specifically for ones that had like no slip tread on them or something like that, so I can keep from falling and hurt myself. 'Cause I just keep falling all the time. And like it surprises me when I fall. I just can't feel where my legs are in time and space, and lots of times I can't feel like things touching my legs. Like I can't feel like I'm leaning up against the counter sometimes, or like when I'm brushing up against something with my legs. So I got no clue on what's going on down there as far as my legs. And yeah, I've used this word before. Proprioception is a communication between your brain and your body that tells you know right now where your arm is and stuff like that. As far as my legs past the hip, I have no clue where they're at in time and space. Now, when I have weight on them, because then I can kind of like operate because the weight gives me a clue as to where they're at. But I've told these stories before, but a lot of times I don't do this anymore because I learned my lesson. I'd have my legs crossed and be sitting for a while, and then because I couldn't feel my legs, I had forgotten that I didn't uncross my legs, so I would just try to get up with crossed legs, and that doesn't work very well. You just kind of like fall flat on your face, or if you're unlucky, you go flying into the wall, forearm first, and bust up your forearm. But yeah, it's the reason why I don't wear jeans anymore. It's because once my disease progressed to that level, I couldn't walk in jeans or anything that was constrictive, because I couldn't feel when the jeans were pulling tight, so it would just screw up my walking because of the lack. There's so much like white noise in my legs that I can't really feel what's going on. I can feel pain in there and stuff, but there's so much neuropathy and white noise, it's like I can't tell what's going on. So when I got like a tight pair of pants on, and the pants pull tight, I can't adjust for that. So my leg will stop short, if you can understand what I'm saying. So I had to stop wearing jeans. And yeah, I don't know how many years ago that was, but it is a very, very weird existence with CRPS. It's very strange. And like I said, I hate censoring myself. It makes me feel like this. But I have to. You can't put everything out there because other people are comfortable with it. Or just because I'm comfortable with it doesn't mean other people are comfortable with it. And if it's going to hurt anybody or cause anybody shame or anything like that, I don't want to be putting that stuff out there. Because people aren't logical like me. This is like on omnidirectional mode. No, what's it called? Cardio mode or something like that. The idea is the hot part of the mic is supposed to be in front, and then this part of the mic is supposed to be dead. So you're not supposed to be able to hear that water rushing upstairs, but I bet you heard it. But when I'm reading and stuff, like when I'm reading aloud trying to make my audiobook, I can hear it. And it's like, I wonder if they can hear it. And then I'm taken out of what I'm reading. I lose concentration, and it makes me screw up more. But yeah, as far as how this microphone is set, it's like the front of this mic is supposed to be the hot part of the mic, and then the rest of it is supposed to be dead in this setting. And this is supposed to be like a pop filter to keep me from saying, pick the peck of Peter Piper peppers and making the puh sound, puffing on the microphone, but I don't put the microphone that close to my face anyway. It's kind of hard to like work the boom arm and position it over my head anyway, and then I got to read the book, so if I got it positioned there, it's like there's a conflict of spatial interest there. That's not cool. But yeah, I'm not sure I have anything to talk about or can be interesting today. I'm irritated. My one cat is very barometer sensitive, so he knew that this shit was coming, this storm that they even named this winter storm something or another. But he felt it coming, so I let him in the house. And I put plastic down. He's not the main offender as far as befouling my house, though. He did shit on my bed, and I did catch him doing it. But it wasn't a bad shit. And I just been keeping my bedroom door closed, and I put plastic on over top of the furniture. He's got a litter box. I mean, I don't know, but it just, he wanted to come in, and it's like 2 degrees at night. It's going to be either 2 or 4 below tonight. I don't know which, but man, that's rough. The other cat that I feel responsible for, he is really, really fat and a long-haired cat. He's been on camera here before. He's outside, but he is just shit and pissed in too many places in my house, you know, for me to just let him in here and let him run loose, because I got enough problems with, I can't clean house. So, yeah, I got enough problems without dealing with that. He's been hiding underneath the neighbor's deck. Like yesterday, I had my little school bell I ring to call him to dinner. And I was already feeding this one cat with the white paws that I kind of adopted as a third cat, just because I kind of like him. And then I rang that bell, and then the big fat white cat, he's enormously fat, came running from underneath the neighbor's deck, and I gave him some as much as he wanted to eat too, a ridiculous amount of food. Then it all froze solid like really fast because it was so cold out. But I know he had a full belly, and then he goes back and hides wherever he hides. I mean, they have a higher body temperature than humans, so I'm assuming he can eat snow. I think the stream that they usually drink out of, that's like 150 yards from my house, I think that's probably frozen over because of the cold. But no, I don't know. I don't feel interesting today, so I said that before, like in that video where I was feeling like confident. I was like, I feel like I can't help but feel interesting. But the truth of the matter is, like, I'm very moody and I feel very boring. So, especially because I can't tell my interesting, horrific HBO Game of Thrones type stories. You know what I mean. I'm talking about like violent stuff that you're not going to see on anything but cable TV, pay TV and stuff. And I can't tell my stories. I have to censor myself all the time. I can't even tell my own story fully, because it has to be censored for the benefit of other people, out of respect, because it involves them, and not everybody can deal with what I can deal with. So emotionally, so what can I do? I'm shackled. I'm handcuffed. I guess what I could do is just say whatever I wanted to and just alienate everybody that I know. And, if they found out that I was just like, I'm not even using their names or anything, but just talking about their role in various stories and stuff like that, I could just alienate everybody and just like be a complete loner and go batshit crazy and just talk on here all the time. But I don't see the point of that. You got to have some place to go, and you got to have some friends and some people to talk to in the flesh, even if you don't get much in the way of physical affection, or really other kinds of affection. It's like, it cracks me up. Like, we get this huge winter storm, dumps 20 inches of snow, just paralyzes the town and stuff. And like, I paid this person, I will talk about this person without naming them, but I paid this person like $20 just to do like minimal amount of shit around here, like anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks ago. And they call me back after that, and they know damn well I'm not going to say, yeah, get your ass over here. They're like, yeah, you got that laundry together you wanted me to do? And they got to know damn well I'm not going to, knowing me, I'm not going to say, yeah, get your ass out of here and go risk your life driving in on undrivable snowy roads. It's like come on, it's just so silly. And they're like, oh, we got some food for you too, and all this, and I'm like, you're freaking killing me here. You're killing me. It's like, of course I am not gonna say, like, yeah, drive out you know, I guess I could call their bluff and say, they know I'm not going to though, because they know me. They know I'm not going to be like, yeah, yeah, you know, nobody else is on the road because they're scared to death. But yeah, you drive over here and you do what you were promised that I paid you that $20 for like 10 or 14 days ago that you never got around to even calling me back about. So, yeah, well, that's so maybe alienating all the people in my life. Not that big a deal. I do have a couple of people that I like, though, and that, yeah, I had my guitars taken in to the shop, you know, and I just do this shit to grease the wheels, you know. Instead of just asking people for favors, man, I just make it clear that there's going to be a little scratch in it for them. But this guy likes to do this kind of stuff anyway. So I was like, yeah, my guitar needs to go to the doctor because I couldn't get it to work the other day. And I said, I bought this bass and I want this bass flipped over from um, right-handed to left-handed because left-handed bass is the cheapest one I could find was like $400 or something like that for left-handed bass due to the ratio between right-hand and left-handed guitars, and that's going to cost me like $100 just to flip the fucking bass over to make it left-handed when all you got to do is like buy a nut, which is the part that the strings fit in up toward where the keys are, and flip it around. You don't have to do much else. So I don't know what that's about, but I was like, I don't care. I got other worries, you know. But yeah, I was like, made sure to let that guy know that some scratch was going to get thrown his way. And guess what? He showed up on time right when he said he would. You know why? Because I didn't pay him ahead of time. He likes to do that kind of shit anyway. But yeah, the other person I paid ahead of time, and they called me after the worst snowstorm in the world ready to do chores I paid them to do like 2 weeks ago. It's like they know me well enough. They know I'm not the type of person that like I'm forgiving type of person. You know, not that I can't be unforgiving. You can ask some people about that, but it's like I'm generally just a forgiving type of person. You know, it's like, especially when I'm dealing with people that are miserable people. They got like their own problems. And, but yeah, just that was just so funny to me. Like, yeah, you're gonna call me and want to do all this shit right after 20 inches of snow just dropped on us, and the temperature dropped down into single digits. It's like, you know, I'm not gonna send your ass out here, and they got like health problems too. It's like, you know, I'm not gonna do that. All I wanted you to do was like just pick up a couple of things off my floor for $20 and maybe do a bag of laundry. That's all I wanted you to do. You know, they got to know that I'm not going to ask them to even do any large amount of work for $20. So yeah, I don't understand people. I don't understand the way their minds work. So, you know, I don't get it. Uh, I don't understand. I just don't understand the way other people's minds works. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand people. I don't know if it's just because my experience as a human being has been so god awful weird and horrendous and horrible, and you know, I have this freaky weird disease where I step on tacks and don't know it and can't wear jeans and do not feel where my lower regions are in time and space and whatnot. So, you know, I'm a freak. I'm an alien. I accept that. I'm an alien life form in the shape of a human being. But I do know that I do have like the same like needs that many of y'all do. Like, I don't know, the need not to be on benzos. It's one of those needs. Needs for human contact of some kind. The need for human expression. The need to create. I think everybody has that. I think a lot of people, that's like why they're miserable, is they don't create. But I have the need to create. Like, I have the need to, when I was writing fiction, that satisfied me. When I write on guitar and write music, that satisfies me. Even making this video, and this doesn't seem like one of my better ones, that is satisfying. It's a need to create and express. I think everybody has that. So yeah, I share a lot of things in common with the rest of the human race, but because I grew up so different, and I have a body that is so different from other people's bodies, that I can't help but be like, an alien and a freak. And, without, like the people that go out of their way I don't mean to be offensive to anyone, but the people that go out of their way to look different or whatever, and I'm just like, what? You think that's going to make you really different if you like put fake horns in your head, or do the earlobe thing, or pierce up your face, or tattoo your face, or whatever? It's gonna change. It's gonna make you that different or special or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. The only tattoos that I have on me are the natural kind, man, and they were not scrawled in ink. They are scrawled in blood. And I can't really show them to you because I would need somebody to help me do that. But another funny thing is like when I had my first spinal surgery and I got my first natural tattoo of any consequence in 1984, that's when they removed the spinal tumor. They did the old-fashioned stitching, so it looks like a railroad track, going down my back, like almost for the whole length of my back, because they found a tumor in there, but they also found like a blood cyst in my spinal column. But then on when 2 years later, when I had to have the spinal reconstruction surgeries, they used the internal, dissolving type stitches. And I'm like, why would you even bother? I got this big railroad track thing going down my back with the old-fashioned stitching, and it literally looks like railroad track scars. If you've ever seen that type of a scar, and I'd show it to you, but I can't really do it without help. Without somebody to use the camera and lighting and all that shit. Because as you know, I don't care. I don't need. I was thinking about it today, and I was like, I don't really expect to see 60. The way things are going, I'm 51. I don't really expect to see 60. So, what am I saving it for? What what am I saving my story for? Or what am I? Why would I want to shackle myself with shame? I am going to be in a box, and then what will shame mean? I'm not going to be in a box. I'll be cremated because I'm going to do an experiment to see, since I have that metal Harrington rod in me, if they can get that hot enough to where they melt that and put that in the urn, because I'm getting cremated, or I'm just going to have a metal rod sticking out of the pot, or maybe somebody could put that could be a keepsake for a family member. That metal rod that's inside me, I don't know. It's big, man. It's yay long. I've seen it on x-rays and stuff. It's long. So, instead of leaving a murder weapon as an heirloom after I die, somebody can inherit that, and say, yeah, my buddy, he used to have this. And I actually thought you probably haven't heard before. But, yeah, I'm definitely getting cremated just to see if they can burn up that metal that's inside me. And see, I don't know if it'll come down into globs of metal, and just there'll be ashes and then globs of metal inside the ashes in the urn. But yeah, that's just kind of funny. I forgot what I was talking about not seeing. I started talking about not seeing 60 and making jokes that I made on other videos anyways, on other accounts, about that metal rod. Except for the inheritance part, I didn't make that joke. Yeah, I feel boring. Some days I just feel boring. I can't help it. I'm just killing time, and I'm real good at that. And I can always find something to say or something to talk about. And a lot of these, these vary in quality. I don't consider this a very good one. Yeah, a couple of them that I've rewatched, I was like, yeah, I did a real good job. This is actually interesting, and this is a, you know, like of mainstream interest to people, you know. It's like, yeah, okay, I did a pretty good job on this one, but this is just me being frustrated and trapped inside and in Jack Nicholson Shining mode. Except for it's not all work and no play does makes Jack a dull boy. It's like not being able to read his fucking book that he's trying to then read is making Jack a crazy boy. Because yeah, that is frustrating after a while, you know. It's like it's just a hard thing for me to do. I mean, I don't know why. I have a good voice for it. I know I have a good voice for it. I think I can say that safely. I have a good voice. I got the Blue Yeti microphone. I just can't read what's on the page. I have to rearrange the words. The words are not good, you know, and I'll be like, you stupid fucking writer, you know. I was like, why would you write this way? This doesn't make any sense, you know. And I even call this guy a Russian bastard. Is the guy who's that wrote the book that I love is named Kazimirov. It sounds like a Russian name to me, so I'm like, you Russian fuck. Nobody talks like that. And like, that's not my fault. That's your Russian ass making me mess up with your weird wording. But really, it's just me. I just automatically rearrange things to suit myself. Anyways, that's about an hour. And yeah. So, about mixing the gabapentin and the Valium. I don't know if I want to keep doing that. I'm supposed to take that like every 6 hours, so 4 times a day. So I'm really just taking the one gabapentin. I did that like the last 2 nights, where I took just the one gabapentin and mixed it with 10 milligrams of Valium, which gets me pretty blasted. It gets me in a weird frame of mind. I believe the technical term is high off your ass. But yeah, I don't know if I want to keep doing that or not. Or I'm in a lot of pain, so it makes it hard to sleep at night. And my appointments today should be the 21st, and a Monday. My appointment's coming up on the 25th, but I'm not going to get any relief from that leg for a while. Because, you know, they're not going to like wave a magic wand. There's not going to be no instant cure to it. Did I ever tell you the story about when I had a problem with my foot and my doctor sent me to a arm and shoulder orthopedist? Now that was instant relief, because I had like an extra ankle on my foot, and I was worried that it was some kind of cancer or some kind of thing or some kind of big deal. But it looked like I had an extra ankle on my foot. I had this just big cyst-like thing on my foot. And I had a doctor, and I've heard, like, you know, I don't want this to sound bad, but I've heard, it's been my experience, okay? That's all I can say. This has been my experience. That if you go to a Jewish doctor, he will send you to a Jewish doctor. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but my family doctor growing up, Dr. Simon, is a Jewish dude, and I had this problem with my foot, and he sent me to see a specialist. He said, and it turned out and the guy looked at me and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Didn't you read the sign on the door?" He's like, "I'm an arm and shoulder orthopedist. I don't work with feet or legs." You know, and I said, "Well, I got this problem with my foot." And he goes, "Well, while you're here, let me look at it." You know, and I showed him what it was. And he looked at it and he said, "I've seen a million of these, man. This is something called a ganglionic cyst." He said, "I can drain that for you." You know, and that was an instant fix, man. He numbed it up, stuck a giant needle in it, drained it, put a Band-Aid on it, and I rode a bicycle home with the foot. It didn't feel good riding a bicycle home with the foot, but it wasn't that bad. But I won't get no instant fix like that with this knee. So, I don't know. This is going to be an ongoing thing. I already know that. There's going to have to be some physical therapy involved, which I'm actually looking forward to. The problem is they want you to do that stuff at home, and I'm not rich enough to hire a personal trainer to stand over top of me with a pimp nightstick and make sure I take care of them bitches. Because it's one thing. Lifting weights is fun for me when I'm doing my curls and I'm working with my upper body and stuff, but working with limbs that hurt, where it hurts to work with them, and that is hard to do. You want to talk about self-motivation, you really got to be a motivated dude to do that. And yeah, like my knee was like all swollen up when I was going through Xanax withdrawal without any Valium, and I couldn't find any Valium to ease it. So when the Valium symptoms would start to hit, I would actually walk on a treadmill with my knee all swelled up and stuff. And it would hurt and stuff, but it would tire me out, which would help me stretch my spacing between doses of Valium rather than just sit there and, I'd walk as long as I could on the treadmill on my swollen knee, and then I would be lifting weights with my swollen knee, and but as far as like doing actual therapy and stretching and exercises with it, it's one thing to be like in a physical therapy room setting where you got like a trainer telling you what to do and what one thing. It's another thing when your insurance runs out on that and they send you home and they tell you have to do that shit yourself. They used to tell me that to get my toes are almost like immobile now. They used to tell me that I should lay down a towel and like take my toes and just like roll up the towel with my toes as exercise. You know what that felt like? You know how painful that was? I couldn't make myself do that. And it was frustrating because it didn't really work. That it was hard to do anyway. So, yeah, I couldn't make myself do that. Now I can barely move the toes on my left foot at all. I think I can move the big toe. That's just about it. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to listen to all this actually. But it gives me something to do to talk. I would much rather read, but who the hell wants to hear somebody read suckily and horribly? Here's the Iceberg Hermit. That took me so long to finish that book, and I even have like I had like tape in the pages and stuff. I like taped the pages and like would underline words and highlight words and phrases in it and stuff in different colors to try to help me to put the proper emphasis on the right syllable, to quote Mike Myers. And I worked on that like really hard, and it was only because I told someone I was going to do it, and I wanted to keep my word. And I did it, and then the results were poor because I had a shitty microphone. Just using the microphone on a HP laptop. So the sound quality is bad. But no, I have no idea why anybody would want to listen to me for an hour and 8 minutes and 29 seconds, 30 seconds, 31 seconds, 32 seconds. I have no idea. But maybe somebody gets something out of it. I don't know. I'm at least honest. I have to omit things, but the things I talk about are true things. Like, after I took that first gabapentin, I'm like, I ain't touching that shit no more. I took it 3 times after that. It's like, yeah, I lied about that. And then, yeah, I'm honest about the doses that I take. And, my horrible backslide in October where I went from 14 pills in June to get through the whole month of June to 50 and a half pills in October. where things totally got out of control. I am happy to report that I am not addicted to Xanax. I have no desire to take any Xanax. I don't think about taking Xanax. I barely take, I'm not taking the Valium that I'm supposed to be taking. I'm not really fond of that either. What I would be fond of is a working knee and being able to walk and move around and get exercise and work with my body. And, even lifting weights with my upper body, it has an impact on my knee. It's ridiculous. Even sitting, your whole body seems to be engaged somehow. And I've been lifting weights since I was 15 years old, off and on. I think that's when I got my first weight set, when I was like 14 or 15. I already had that tumor growing inside me. And I still remember it. I remember the weight bench and what all the weights look like and everything, because those old time memories are usually the clearest. Which in some cases is an unfortunate thing. You'll get that a lot with older people. They'll be like, they may not be able to remember what happened yesterday, but you ask them about what happened in 1975, they'll remember it crystal clear. And the stories that I remember, like the teeter-totter story with my brother, dumping that guy on his ass deliberately as a joke to get rid of him. I remember that clear as day. That happened probably, I would say 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. I remember that. Yeah, I can still remember that the words said and my brother's reaction and the way I thought about it and everything. And I could remember what the place looks like and all, the whole thing. And yeah, that's just the way the mind works. I think what it is like the more you recall something, and it gets more set in your mind. Anyways, I don't know. I was going to try to get a little deeper, be a little more complicated, and talk about Norm Macdonald's book, which was about the difference between the truth and memory, the way we see things, and the truth of things, and how they get blended up together and mixed together. Except for he phrased it a different way. So, yeah, I was surprised that I didn't like that book. I rushed out and got the book, and because that's my favorite comedian. I ended up not liking the book. I mean, I was surprised that was the case. So, anyways, I just remind myself that nobody has to listen to me be boring if I'm being boring, or incoherent, or talking about things that do not interest them. It is kind of funny talking to a black lady with gigantic yellow talon nails about nail care and what I should do as a guitar player to harden my nails so I can play on metal strings. Because I've gotten away from nylon. Nylon strings are fat, they're thick. I don't like the feel of that. That's what I learned on, but I've been playing on metal strings for so long. I have a really expensive nylon string guitar that's you can hook up to a MIDI and you can make it sound like a piano, and you can do all kinds of shit with it. But it turns out that bridge is kind of sailed for me because I got too used to metal, and but metal chews up my fingernails, and I was talking to her about various solutions to that, they have gels, then you have fluorescent lamps, and now I'm definitely talking about stuff that most people that are listening are probably not interested in. But yeah, it's very frustrating. Like, this is my main thing I play guitar with. This will get worn off, and then I won't be able to play guitar until I grow a new thumbnail. This is my pick, is my actual thumbnail. And I tried finger picks and shit, and they don't feel comfortable. So I will actually, I can't play anymore for a while. because my thumbnail's gone. And I'll have to wait until I grow a new thumbnail back. But I just use like Sally Hansen nail care products and Nail Magic, and bought these different like usually less than $10 nail hardeners and gels and stuff. I've never gotten really serious about it, like Korean nail salons serious about it, you know. And they got fluorescent lamps and these gels that harden the stuff and all this stuff that you can do for nail care. And yeah, since I'm immobilized and I'm about to spend $200 on getting my guitar. I took my guitar to the doctor and get my guitar fixed. And I'm going to be stuck in here with a bad leg. I'm going to have to find something to do. And this reading thing ain't working out too good because it gets on my nerves that I spend 2 hours and have nothing to show for it but a sore voice. So, you know, what better to do when you've failed miserably reading a book than to make a hour and 15 minutes video on YouTube that may or may not be entertaining. I feel like, you know, there's something within me that's telling me that this is a horrible video, that I shouldn't put this up, but I'll put it up anyway because I really don't care. I know I'm very well aware that there's always that those videos on the side, or somebody could be like, Steve's being a bore. So I don't think about that anymore. At one point I was like, well, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to do just half-hour videos and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then I went back to being me, because that's really not me. I mean, I can do that, but I just I like to lay in bed and be comfortable and talk and have that sense of like I don't care if it's off-putting to the viewer. I'm not in this to make any money or to get a huge viewership or anything like that. I will do a much better presentation, of course, when I finally do put my novel up there, because good Lord, that's the most precious thing I own. And yeah, I will do some more research on YouTube video editor, to maybe where I can download, instead of like taking a picture of a picture, just download this picture right into the screen. So, you know, you make the video, and then there's got to be some way to do it, you know. And there's tons of kind people on YouTube that are willing to show you how to do it. But since this isn't some kind of to use a very odd pun, seminal video about me being a sweet little virgin or whatever, I think that I should stop now. And I will watch this one and I will not be amused by it. I'm pretty sure I will be embarrassed by it, but it will go up because it's all part of until I'm off of those benzos, man. There's going to be no shame. You know, the only things I censor are the things to protect other people, or if I am being utterly, completely, mind-numbingly boring. And there were some pimps and some beating of Johns involved in this one, so that was sort of interesting. And, you know, I thought that shit was funny about me sliding around, and well, about me falling and then sliding around and just trying to keep from sliding off of this vinyl seat onto the floor, like for this whole trip. And then, you know, she didn't drive me straight home, because that's not how cripple buses work. They go and pick up other cripples, and you know, so she's hopping on the big road, she's hopping on the freeway, and you know, we're going off to another city and picking up a guy, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta try to keep from sliding off this seat for like for a couple of cities, you know. So I've got this like handhold, and I'm just like pushing against it the whole time, and I'm sliding and pushing myself back and sliding up and down. So yeah, maybe this had some entertainment value to someone. I don't know, But if it's boring, like I said, always, 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 man, there's always that off button. And nobody ever has to watch any video on YouTube unless you're being forced to by Lebanese terrorists at gunpoint. You don't have to watch any of my videos. This is what decadent American is like. I don't know, man. Goodbye.